Once again, welcome everyone to this webinar about the Research Data Alliance. I'm going to give a general presentation about the Research Data Alliance organization and then focus a little bit on the upcoming plenary meeting, which is already the 23rd plenary meeting of Research Data Alliance, or RDA, as it's quite familiarly known. The 23rd plenary is happening already next week, and I have some pics from the program to share with you. So how this webinar works is that I'm going to give this presentation in English, and the presentation will be recorded, and therefore I ask you to keep your questions until the end of the webinar, when we or a second part of the webinar, when we open the discussion, and that will not be recorded. And depending on who's online, we can have the discussion either in Finnish or in English. Please feel free to put your questions already into the chat during my presentation. I will pick up them then after and respond to my best ability. But then you're also very welcome to raise your hand and present your questions or comments or ideas orally also. Okay, but let's hit the slides, and please let me know. I have here online two of my colleagues, Anu and Sara. If there are some technical issues or anything, please don't hesitate to bring them up, and we'll try to fix them. But everyone should be able to see now the slides, so let's get going. So let's start with the kind of 101 of RDA. What is it all about? How it functions? What's the status of RDA at the moment? So RDA is an international member-based organization that is focusing on research data related issues, as the name states. It's quite a big organization nowadays, with more than 14,000 individual members all around the world. 152 countries are represented, so it's kind of starting to be at this kind of UN level, in at least in scope. And yeah, I have some data to show you about the membership in the upcoming slides. RDA's vision is to build bridges, both social and technical. So it's not just about the technical stuff, and that is also reflected in the activities and the membership. So it's quite like kind of a welcoming community for all types of actors and people interested in all things research data. And the principles, the core principles are openness, sharing, making the best possible use of data. There's also already some data available on the right-hand side about the different outputs, adoption cases, groups, individuals. So it's quite impressive numbers already at this stage of RDA's history. So here's a growth graph. The graph ends at October 23, so a year ago, but the number of members is up to date. So that's the actual current number of members. It's a little bit challenging to say how many Finnish members there are, but I checked the number of people who have joined the RDA in Finland group on the RDA website, and even though not everyone here is a Finnish national, and I don't think that's even relevant in order to be affiliated with the Finnish community within our RDA. So quite a good number for a smallish country. of course, the important point of comparison is Sweden, and I think we have quite consistently had a bigger representation in RDA, and that's something that we should keep up. So if you are not yet a member, please join. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't come with any responsibilities. You're free to engage as much or as little as you want. So if you're not a member, join immediately. And if you know people who are working with research data, interested in research data, and not yet members, please promote RDA for them as well. What are the affiliations of RDA members? So by far the biggest group are organizations within the academia, research organizations, and then to a lesser extent other types of other organization types. Public organizations make up the majority or publicly funded organizations, but some companies as well, some SMEs also represented. Professional titles. So it's interesting to see that researchers are the by far the biggest individual group, but the kind of experience from the field, and I've been involved with RDAs since the beginning, since 2013. So I feel like I have a good kind of feeling about it, like at the floor and field level. There's a lot of former researchers and not so many active researchers, at least being active in the different groups. But of course, because the membership is the threshold is quite low, it's easy to join, and it doesn't require a whole lot. There's a lot of not so active members as well, who are mostly just monitoring, following the developments, and that is completely fine. And actually, like all kinds of members are welcome and needed. But I feel like the most active members in RDA are the ones who are working in research support roles, who still might very well identify themselves as researchers and might be doing research on the side. Geographical distribution. So it is truly a global organization, 152 different countries represented. The biggest, most influential individual country is, of course, the US. But then out of the continents, Europe is the best represented. And for a time, the European Commission was, it still supports RDA, but was maybe more visible in the RDA activities. RDA was a forum for a lot of European Open Science Cloud discussions. Not so much maybe nowadays, but still an important discussion forum also for European matters. But of course, RDA as an organization doesn't want to understandably seem biased towards any individual regions. RDA organizational members, there's 67 of them. CSC is currently the only Finnish organization part of RDA. In this listing, EUDAT, the European Data Infrastructure, has been also listed as a Finnish organization and as a project for some reason, even though it's a company nowadays officially. Of course, there's a strong Finnish influence in EUDAT, so I guess that in that sense it's fine to list that also as a Finnish organizational member. But the other EUDAT partners might disagree. the organizational membership comes with a representation in the organizational assembly, and I am currently the organizational assembly representative for CSC. And now it comes to mind that I should have probably introduced myself at the beginning of this presentation. I'm kind of assuming that everyone knows me and I know everyone, but that's not necessarily the case. So hello everyone. I'm Heidi Laine. I work at CSC International Collaboration and Coordination Unit, and I am currently the Research Data Alliance contact person at CSC. So in that role, I'm giving you this presentation, and like I said, I have a long history with RDA. There are also affiliate members, which are international organizations, such as many familiar names for you, I assume, CoData, ORCID, Data One, and so forth. So a really wide-reaching, broad community and network. RDA's governance structures are not always necessarily the most exciting things, but they do matter. So it's good to be aware of how RDA is governed. There's the council that's in charge of the organizational vision and strategy. We have there currently Sara Garavelli from CSC. Secretariat is the one that kind of runs the show, takes the care of administration and operations. That is led by Hilary Hanaho, the Secretary General, long time RDA powerhouse. So if you followed RDA even for a bit longer, you probably know Hilary. Technical Advisory Board, they, for example, go through the different working group charters and are kind of linked with the or on top of the content part of RDA, and then the organizational advisory board that I just mentioned and where I'm participating, and then there's regional advisory board also for the different RDA regions, which is feels like a newish, although I think it's been in place for many years already, but still this kind of regional aspect feels like it is the most recent addition to the RDA governance structure, and it feels like it's still kind of under a work in progress, kind of what is the role of regions. RDA strategy, super briefly, so not very surprisingly, the primary goal is to globalize, to make sure that RDA is truly a global organization. And I think this year's this upcoming plenary in Costa Rica is really important in that sense, because it's the first ever RDA plenary in a Latin American country. So a kind of a new geographical area for RDA to grow in, and let's hope that it's a successful one, and then that the RDA participation continues to spread further south, in the global south, not just in the South America, but also Africa is another emerging RDA continent. And sustaining the operations for an organization such as RDA, it's a kind of a constant challenge to stay relevant, to find funding, or also so important strategic goal as well. And then empower, innovate. This is your basic strategy talk. So then getting more into the kind of the actual work, what's happening in RDA at the ground level. So the main two types of groups in RDA are the working groups and the interest groups. And the working groups are short term, 18 months max. And they always have kind of a clear case statement, like work plan that they want to complete. And usually they also produce some kinds of outputs, concrete things, recommendations, or whatever. I have in the upcoming slides a few examples of what these outputs can look like. And then interest groups, they are open-ended in terms of longevity. Often they then spin these working groups when a more like a concrete idea emerges within the thematic interest group. So that's the basics. And so these groups produce different types of outputs. There are different categories to these. So there are recommendations. That's kind of the highest level, RDA flagship outputs, and they are kind of most rigorously vetted by the different bodies in the RDA governance. Then there are supporting outputs that are not always adoptable by other organizations, but still good and interesting, but not in kind of promoted in the same way as the RDA recommendations. And then there's the final category, other outputs, the kind of the motley crew, but still a lot of useful stuff in that bunch as well. So plenary meetings, that has for a long time been the kind of the beating heart of the RDA. There used to be 2 face-to-face plenaries every year. Of course, during COVID, there was a long break when the cycle of plenary meetings was less consistent, and they went online. And since then, I don't know if this is kind of a permanent solution now, but for the few past years, the cycle has been such that there is one online plenary and one face-to-face plenary every year. So this year in the spring there was an online plenary, and now face-to-face, or actually it's a hybrid plenary, but still with the possibility for a on-site participation this year in Costa Rica. So next spring there's going to be another fully online plenary, and then there's going to be the International Data Week in the autumn 2025. So now finally to this 23rd plenary in Costa Rica, San Jose, next week. So about the program, so what's on offer this year? So for some time already, the program has been, because it's super packed. There's that's one of the staples of an RDA plenary, that there's a lot of content, a lot of groups and presenting, and different types of sessions, joint sessions among working groups can come together and have joint sessions, interest groups also. There are working groups at different stages of progress. There are birds of a feather sessions, where there's not yet an interest group or a working group, but just a kind of an hazy idea about something that could become an interest group or a working group, and then someone organizes a birds of a feather session to kind of test out an idea and see if there's interest in the community to come together and put in place a more stable structure. And also the geographical distribution is always important. So you have to have, in order to have an RDA interest group or a working group, you have to have participation from all of the main RDA regions, Europe, North America, South America, Africa, Australia, or Oceania. I don't know if the requirement is to have a participation from all of these regions, but at least you can't anymore have a working or interest group with just North American and European participation. So it needs to be wider. There needs to be more diversity. But anyway, so the navigating the program has always been a challenge. So one of the ways to make that easier is organizing the program into these thematical pathways, and these are the pathways for this this plenary. So there's 3 pathways about the fair care and trust principles. So fair, I believe, is probably very familiar to all of you. I'm pretty certain that at least the majority of you can cite the fair also in your sleep. Care and trust may be a little bit more foreign. And actually, I realize that I should have maybe prepared a few slides about them, because I don't know them by heart either. But kind of a complementary set of principles to fair, touching more on the research integrity, research ethics side, and security as well. So like adoption track on that, implementation track on that, and evaluation and policy track on that. Then there's the data infrastructures and environments pathway for generalists, or like from a generalist point of view, data infrastructures and environments from a disciplinary point of view. Then there's the training, stewardship, skill, and data management planning track. I assume very interesting for anyone working in research support services, especially in libraries, at least in the thinking about the Finnish context. Then more kind of technical track, semantics, ontology, and standardization, data life cycles track, and discipline-focused sessions track, and then of course other. And many sessions can, or a session can be part of several pathways, obviously. So then what's like some picks from the program, what's especially interesting this time. So these are my personal topics that I'm at least going to participate in. So health data commons from the global open research commons point of view. I think it's really interesting from the Finnish national point of view. We are working on the building the European health data space in Europe and in Finland nationally, and Finland, as many of you know, is kind of a pioneer in developing solutions for handling and sharing social and health data in a secure and responsible way, especially in the context of secondary use of register data. Then there's going to be a birds of a feather session on national data services, where I'm representing the Finnish case and situation, and there's a charter for a working group being drafted. So if that comes together, that's potentially very interesting for our national scene, and will hopefully provide more kind of visibility and potential benchmarks for other countries on building national data services, also beyond Europe, because I feel like for European countries we have quite good visibility, and of course the European Open Science Cloud EOSC provides a context for that. But what's happening outside of Europe? So this working group could provide a really good window to that. And then another BOF, that birds of a feather session, that I'm really interested in, and I think is very relevant from the national point of view, is this trusted research environments for sensitive or confidential data. So there's also a working group charter being drafted. The challenge there is this geographical part distribution, because the trusted research environments, or in the European health data space context, the key term is secure processing environments. It's a really hot topic in Europe, and Europe is at the forefront of this technology. But it's even though there's a lot of interest for this also outside of Europe, the level of maturity is not the same as in Europe. So there has been challenges in finding co-chairs for this working group from outside Europe. But hopefully that will the organizers will be able to find suitable candidates, and when we get this working group off the ground, because this is already a third birds of a feather session for this topic, and all of these have been really well attended. There's a lot of interest. We just need someone to step up and be a co-chair. I wanted to show you about what the GORC, the Global Open Research Commons, means, because it's a model that can in this case it's going to be applied for health data context, but it is really a useful model for all types of contexts and levels: organizational level, country level, disciplinary level. So this is a RDA. I think this is an official output, but anyway, this is a model that has been produced by an RDA group, and it is being now adopted to different uses. There are actual real life examples of organizations modeling their organization based on these modules, and also it is being used in evaluating organizations. So I think this is something that could be very useful for us also in the Finnish context. So just to plant this idea in your head, I wanted to add this one slide and visualization of this model here. So then some picks from the national point of view. Of course, my personal picks were also, at least I think, hopefully relevant from the national point of view. But there's more. There's so much content. So one of some things that I thought that might be linked to ongoing discussions, developments in the Finnish scene. So research data architecture is something that there's been a lot of work on the national level recently. The open science architecture was published some time ago, and now the architecture for the Daha architecture, I don't remember the English translation now, but you probably know what I'm talking about. It's at the final stages. Then there's a session on certification of data repositories. I know that the Core Trust Seal data repository certification is at least in the Tietoarkisto. Finland has that certification, and it's interesting for other Finnish repositories as well. Then there's a birds of a feather session on the role of generalist repositories in the research data landscape, and I thought that this might be interesting for organizational data repositories, because they tend to be not focused on one discipline or domain. At least in universities and universities of applied sciences that cover many disciplines and fields. Then there's a birds of a feather session about data steward career tracks. I know that there's has been national discussion in Finland also related to that. There's a fair mappings birds of a feather session where there's Finnish participation. I know that Joonas Kesäniemi from CSC is one of the driving forces behind that topic in RDA. And then there's of course the data management plans and tools related to that is a constant in our national discussion. So there's going to be a session about active data management plans. Okay, now I've taken up quite a long time already, so I'll try to wrap things up so that we can have a discussion. But But I still want to give you one more snapshot from the program of the P23, and that's the different outputs and recommendations that will be presented during the program. So there's going to be so as a kind of a tips about interesting recent outputs from RDA for you to maybe take a look at on your own time. So the Sharing Rewards and Credit Interest Group has produced recommendations on open science rewards and incentives. The Professionalizing Data Stewardship Group has produced an output titled "What does a career track for data stewards look like?" Then already I mentioned the Global Open Research Commons Interest Group, so that model will be presented there. Then Data Discovery Paradigms Interest Group has produced an output called 10 Principles to Improve Dataset Discoverability. Artificial Intelligence and Data Visitation Working Group has produced a shared citation library. And then as a final mention, I want to highlight the Tiger project, the European RDA project that has now been copied also to the US, and they do very kind of concrete facilitation work for RDA groups. So they provide support, very hands-on support for different RDA groups. They have experts that they can assign to groups to facilitate meetings, to organize meetings, to create meeting notes, and do this type of very concrete work in order to make the groups work smoother. And they also have calls for cascading grants, since Tiger is a EU-funded project. So part of the project funding is being used for third-party grants. So that's a really good thing to keep in mind if you have an idea for an RDA group, but feel like the work is too much. There's this type of help available. And then finally, few marketing announcements about upcoming events. So after Costa Rica, the next face-to-face event is again quite far from Finland, but definitely worth the trip because it's another International Data Week event. So their RDA is part of the RDA Plenary is part of the program, but there's also the SciDataCon scientific conference on data, which is organized by the International Science Council Committee on Data, CODATA. So a big community meeting, even beyond RDA. So these International Data Weeks are always really interesting events. So please mark your calendars already. And then after that, 2027, the next International Data Week, there's probably going to be one face-to-face RDA plenary in between in 26, but the host of that is not yet known, but we already know the 27 International Data Week host and location, and that will take us or whoever has the opportunity to travel at that time to South Africa, Cape Town. Okay, thank you. That was my presentation. So let's now close the recording and let the discussion begin.